Good morning, Little Masters, and welcome back to today's Tolkien Times. I'm the Man of the West, also from the Prancing Pony podcast. Let's keep week 17 going with today's Tolkien Tuesday. Now, first, though, a quick update. I've had a lot of people reach out and ask, how am I doing? I am still dealing with the broken collarbone. It is getting better, but in the meantime, I'm still supposed to be wearing my sling. I'm not right now because I'm sitting with my arm on the desk, so we're good. Just don't get me to stand up or carry anything. But I am recovering, so thank you for that. And those of you who listen to the Prancing Pony podcast, thank you for your patience, as I've had to do every other week for the first few weeks of that show, just given all the things that I'm dealing with outside of even the injury and recovery. But let's go ahead and get into today's Tolkien Tuesday. Now, for the first two series, that's 16 weeks of today's Tolkien Times, we took a deep dive into the history of the publication of The Lord of the Rings, from Tolkien's efforts to get the Silmarillion published, including another publishing house almost getting the work, to the reviews of the book and early fan letters. This series, we're switching gears. I want to go back to Tolkien's youth. I want to look at the friendships he formed, especially with the others in the Immortal Four of the TCBS, Christopher Wiseman, G.B. Smith, and Rob Gilson. And there is nobody that examines this set of relationships more thoroughly and with more style than John Garth does in Tolkien and the Great War, one of the three absolute must-read books if you want to read more about Tolkien himself, the others being Carpenter's Biography and Tom Shippey's Author of the Century. So I will be leaning as heavily on Garth's work in these coming weeks as I did on the letters in the last set of episodes. And today, I want to start with some excerpts from Garth's prologue. It is December 16th, nearly the dead of winter. Chill gusts buffet the flanks and faces of the attackers, struggling to advance across a bare 100 yards or so of mud. They are a ramshackle group, some of them mere novices. The minute these young men muster a concerted effort, a few veterans press forward with all their energy and skill. But most of the time, there is chaos. Again and again, their opponents shrug off the assault and land a fearsome counterblow, so that all the guile, fortitude, and experience of the veterans can barely hold back the assault. Their captain, J.R.R. Tolkien, tries to bring his own experience to bear, but those around him are, in the words of an eyewitness, a beaten pack. The year is 1913. The Great War is 8 months away, and this is just a game. Not yet soldiers, Tolkien and his teammates are Oxbridge undergraduates back in Birmingham for Christmas, and today, in accordance with annual tradition, they are playing rugby against their old school's first 15. Just shy of 22, Tolkien is nothing like the professorial figure now familiar from the covers of biographies, all tweed, kindly wrinkles, and ubiquitous pipe. John Ronald, as his old friends call him, cuts a lean, slight figure on the rugby pitch. But in his days as a forward in the King Edward's School First 15, he earned a reputation for dash and determination, and now he plays for Exeter College, Oxford. Now, Garth goes on to hint at some of the things in Tolkien's mind at this point, but he makes the point, very important, that he is not yet the maker of Middle-earth. But here's the thing. After he'd struggled in classics, Tolkien has moved himself in that direction, as Garth explains. He has said goodbye to Latin and Greek, and is now tackling Chaucer and Beowulf, scrutinizing the origins and development of the English language. It is the affirmation of an early love for the northern languages and literatures that will always fire his imagination. The first glimpse of Middle-earth is fast approaching. Far off in the unimagined future, a cock crows in the courtyards of a city under siege, and horns answer wildly in the hills. Garth also introduces us to one of Tolkien's friends as well. Christopher Wiseman, tall, leonine, and barrel-chested, used to share the scrum with Tolkien, but at Peterhouse, Cambridge, he has had to stop playing rugby and rowing because of an old heart problem. Today, he is relegated to the less aggressive three-quarter line near the back of the field. Tolkien had met Wiseman years before, back in 1905, and had become friends with him through playing rugby. Wiseman was a year younger than Tolkien, but his intellectual equal, Garth says. They would walk along Broad Street and Harborne Road between home and school, immersed in passionate debate. Wiseman was a liberal in politics, a Wesleyan Methodist by religion, and a musician by taste, while Tolkien was naturally conservative, a Roman Catholic, and, thought Wiseman, tone deaf. Theirs was an unlikely partnership, but all the richer for it. they discovered that they could argue with an incandescence few friendships could survive, and their disputes only served to seal the intensely strong bond between them. In recognition of this, they called themselves privately the Great Twin Brethren. Even their closest friend on and off the rugby pitch, Vincent Trout, did not share this bond. Now, eventually, Robert Quilter Gilson, the son of King Edward's headmaster, became part of that same circle. The three, and others moving in and out of their orbits according to Garth, dominated every school debate and play, and they formed the backbone of the literary society, to which Tolkien read from the Norse sagas, Wiseman expounded on historiography, Gilson enthused about the art critic John Ruskin, and Trout delivered a remarkable paper remembered as almost the last word on the Romantics. Now, in the summer of 1911, which was the hottest one in England in 40 years, Garth tells us that the place in the library where they spent their time became a hotbed of cultural stratagems, surreal wit, and tomfoolery. While the dead hand of exams laid hold of much of the rest of the school, the librarians brewed clandestine teas on a spirit stove and established a practice whereby each had to bring in tidbits for secretive feasts. Soon, the tea club was also meeting outside school hours in the tea room at Barrow's Stores, giving rise to an alternative name, the Barrovian Society. Well, this tea club and Barrovian Society would become known as the TCBS. And as Garth explains, by 1913, when Tolkien has been at Oxford for over 2 years, the clique still meets for Barrovians and is still largely devoted to drollery. Its membership has always fluctuated, but Christopher Wiseman and Rob Gilson remain at its heart, along with a more recent initiate, Geoffrey Bache Smith. On the rugby pitch today, the TCBS is represented by all four, as well as by Wiseman's fellow three-quarterback, Sidney Barrowclough. But Tolkien is missing an excellent fullback in Vincent Trout. The TCBS's first loss, he died nearly 2 years ago after a long illness. Now, next week, we'll learn more about both Rob Gilson and G.B. Smith, and whether Tolkien's team won that rugby match. Folks, I got to tell you, I'm really looking forward to working through John Garth's book, Tolkien and the Great War, as we look back at these deep and meaningful friendships that shaped Tolkien's life and writings. Now, I don't know how long I'll take to tell these stories, but I'm looking forward to every Tolkien Tuesday till then. Please visit patreon.com/Tolkien Times to learn how you can support the show, get an ad-free feed, a monthly hangout with me, a bonus weekly episode, and a whole lot more. And join me again tomorrow on today's Tolkien Times for Word Nerd Wednesday. Finally, if you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Please follow or subscribe in your podcast apps, and follow @Tolkien Times on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Finally, as Faramir says, go with the goodwill of all good men.